as Peter mentioned, feel free to just jump in with questions at any stage. We'll kind of treat this more like a poster presentation than a kind of stand-up one-way thing. As you can see from this screen here, I'm working at Kansei Gakuin University. I've taught there for about 8 years. And today I'm going to talk to you about developing the phrase building, skills with the free LingoLab web app. So this is a web app that I've designed and made with a programmer, Paul Rain. And I found it really useful with my classes, and it's free for anyone else to use. A lot of the sets that you use within here are from Japanese to English, so Japanese sentences translating to English, but you can actually create lots of different formats of questions, as you'll see shortly. So just for an overview, first of all, I'll talk about the LingoLab activity and modes. Then I'll talk about the LingoLab CO site, which is for self-study with progress tracking. Then I'll talk about the LingoLab online teachers site, which is for observing the progress of students using LingoLab CO, making custom sets and making quizzes. And then I'll do a LingoLab live demo. So if any of you have played Quizlet Live, this is a similar kind of thing where students are answering questions on their phone or their computer. And there's the leaderboard that everyone can see. So it's a sort of little competition. Okay, so let's move on to the LingoLab activity. So across these 3 different sites, it's all using the same kind of activity, but with different functions in the different sites. So we can see here just a few examples of the different kinds of formats for the answer. So even though it's ideal and probably uniquely good for giving sentence practice, you can actually use it for single words or for phrases, multi-word units like phrasal verbs or collocations, or the full sentence here. And we can see for the Q being the sort of question type that prompts the answer, we can use text. That could be Japanese text, or it can be English text, or whatever. You can use it for different languages as well. Or it can be audio. Now this audio is always text-to-speech audio. So the audio is based on the text that's been input. These days, that's very good quality. So even if it's not 100% natural, it's definitely good enough for giving comprehension practice. And in the third example here, you can see picture and audio. So with this kind of thing, you could have a question about the picture, or you know, an audio playing the actual answer, like a dictation style activity. I'll give a bit more detail about these modes one by one. Okay, so this shows you the default answer mode. So in this answering mode, the full words are shown on the tiles down here. And you'll notice also that the answering spaces here show the user how many words are in the target answer, and also give a clue as to how long each word is. This enables the the program to be able to specify one correct answer. Whereas with a lot of sentences, there might be adverbs placed in different positions and things like that that mean there could be more than one possible answer. By doing this, we're kind of narrowing it down to one specific answer. Okay. Challenging mode. I think someone might have their mic on or something. Okay, in this more challenging mode, we have the hidden letters mode. So the users can't see the full component words. So this is much more challenging. So when my students are using this mode, I say that they should be looking at here and thinking of the answer in their head and then coming down to get the code file. Once you've got an answer in your head, it's very easy to come down and click the correct files. This makes it very different though. This is kind of one of the unique features that differentiate it from a lot of other apps like Duolingo or Memrise or other just sort of more traditional Narabikaya activities. Here are the audio modes. So with this could be telling the user the target phrase, as in the dictation activity, or it could be actually giving a question or some kind of cue phrase, just like, I don't know, if the students have learnt little question answer pairs like "How are you? I'm fine" or something, the audio could be playing "How are you?" and they would have to find "I'm fine" in the answer. And if you include a picture, you can include any combination of picture, audio, and text. An example here is giving a little question about the picture, and they have to form the answer. Or again, yeah, similar kind of thing with dictation mode. So a lot of listening tasks in ESL are more, the students listen to a short monologue and then they answer some sort of general comprehension type questions. I pretty much found that's the usual kind of listening task. But with this, you can make micro listening tasks, which I also think are valuable for being able to tune into simple questions and short phrases. Okay, here's another example of accessibility. So you could have some sort of data here. This is a little bit like a kind of information gap task that students might do in class with a partner, but this would be good practice for preparing them for a task like that. So we can see the data here. They get a question and they would have to answer it here. You could change the mode for this so they actually hear that as an audio question. You can change the mode here so they just saw first and last letters to make it more challenging. So you can see there's lots of, with those three things, text, audio, and pictures, there's a lot of different combinations you can make. Although I usually do just stick with Japanese to English translation tasks for my higher level students, doing more difficult sort of language points. Even when you do translation tasks, it's not necessarily always grammar points or anything. Could be using vocabulary and context. Could be more situational, functional types of phrases. Could be classroom English. I think the first demonstration set on LingoLab, if you just go to the site, the first one that pops up is classroom language. And for any of those, it's one of the first things we often teach in the first first class of semester to our students, you know, how do you say such and such? What does such and such mean? And we might sort of give a sheet with those and sort of run through those once with the students, but it's just not really enough for many students. So by having them practice with LingoLab, it gives them more necessary practice. Okay, so that is the format of LingoLab. And as I said, it does appear on different websites with different functions, which I'll show you in a moment. But just before we move on, is there any questions or comments about the LingoLab format? You're wondering about whether you can do a certain type of activity that you have in mind, feel free to ask. Okay, let's move on to, I'll just have a quick look at that. Okay, so let's look at LingoLab.co. So this is for self-study practice with item progress tracking and systematic review. There are a lot of default sets, as I mentioned, the Japanese English sentences. To make all the different types of custom tasks I showed before, you can make your own custom sets, but there are a lot of commonly used ones already just in LingoLab.co by default. User progress can be connected to the teacher's LingoLab online progress tracker. I'll show you that site soon. And you can also import custom sets from LingoLab. Okay, but the main thing about this site is that it's students will be able to do this by themselves. If they're logged in, it'll keep track of what things they've practiced. And if they make mistakes with different questions, then they will have to answer those questions again until they get them right. I'll explain that system shortly. These are the different screens. So this is the home screen they'll arrive at. So it just shows the latest set of words that they've been, words and phrases that they've been studying, and the progress with each one. So all of the items in the set start at yellow. And if they get them correct, they go up to green and they don't appear in the game again. If they make a mistake, we'll go down to orange. If they make another mistake, we'll go down to red. And any red items appear in the very next game, because if it's red, it means the student has made a couple of mistakes. They really don't know that one very well. So they're going to get to practice that one again soon while it's sort of fresh in their memory. Even if they get that correct, though, it will have just gone up to orange and they will still practice it again at a random later time, 2 more times. Okay, so any ones at these levels just appear in random order. There's not like a particular kind of spaced repetition function where it waits a month and then shows it again or whatever. It just has this kind of up or down ranking system. We can see the modes. I explained the modes before about the full words and hidden letters. And also with the audio prompt, if you want to make, instead of showing the text, have it play as the answer or question. You set those things here. And this progress here is recorded independently for the different modes. So even though this is in progress here, if I switch this to hidden letters mode, this would go back to, reset back to you know, all the items just at yellow. So yeah, if students are logged in, this progress will be saved and they'll be able to continue on the next time they log in. You can use a phone or computer or whatever, iPad, and the progress will be saved across devices. So that's very handy. Yeah, here is the game screen as it appears. In every sort of round of questions, there's just 5 questions. And after those questions have been answered, there's a review screen just showing a list of the questions and answers for the student to see. Here is the studying page. So this just shows all of the different sets that the student has been using lately. And the sets screen, this one shows just all the default sets that are in there already. But as I said, you can import custom ones, and you can click this button down here, which will enable you to import custom sets. And the profile screen, I think, is coming. Not now, but next. I did explain this just before with all of the progress tracking here. So all of them starting at yellow, going up if correct, going down if not correct. So this means if you give this kind of practice to students, for the students who do know it already, they will get them all correct fairly quickly. But if they don't know them, it is going to have them get more practice. So that's good, because I think it's always kind of a tough thing with a group of 30 students. You want to give enough practice to give them mastery, but you don't want to make them bored. And if you're just presenting something one time, inevitably there will be the good students who got it, and then the other students who need more practice, but you can't strike that balance between boring them and giving everyone enough practice. Okay. Just on this screen, you can also see the sign in button here. So if you go there for the first time without an account, you'll see this sign in button. So you can sign up and log in with a Google account. So pretty much everyone has a Google account now, because Google is what people use for YouTube, as well as Gmail and Google Drive and all the other Google apps. I don't think I've ever met a student in recent history who hasn't got a Google account. Even if they don't know they have one, once you tell them it's the same thing as their YouTube account, they know what it is. So yeah, if you're already logged into your Google account on the device, when you click on LingoLab.co, you'll just go there and you'll just go straight through and be logged in already. If you're not logged in to your Google account, you just tap that little sign in button, and within a couple of steps, you're in without having to actually enter username and password. So, that also means that the account details and everything are as secure for LingoLab as they would be with Google, so they can take care of all the security and login technical issues. Yep, here are those steps that I mentioned. There's the sign in button, logging in with Gmail. Once you are logged in, on the profile page, it gives you your information, gives you your total score, just an accrual of all the points that you've made ever since the beginning. And then if you want to share progress with the teacher, you put the teacher's Gmail address here. The teacher's Gmail address that they used to make their LingoLab online account with. And they can put in a label here for the class, and then this will make it easier for the teacher to sort any records on the LingoLab online. Right. This by default, the name by default shows whatever they have as their Google account name, which might be in Japanese or whatever, but you can have them edit it here it'll still be connected to their Google account, but it'll be something that you can read more easily. Even if they put something different here from the LingoLab online side, you can actually edit the name for them, because often they're putting them in different orders or whatever. So that's handy too. And we've seen that page before. All of the sets they've been studying. If they do happen to complete it and have all the items as green, they wouldn't come back into the game. But if that happens, there's a little reset button up here. They can click that reset button and practice the set again if they want to. And on LingoLab, on the teacher's side, it actually does indicate if they've reset the set. So you know that they're going through that one for the second time rather than the first time. Okay. And I keep explaining my latest slides earlier. I've already explained this. Editing, name, class, sharing functions. This is a good thing to do. So just like, so they don't sort of have to go into their web browser every time, just saving the web page to their screen creates a little icon, just like a iOS app, or to their screen to make it easier to access at any time. If you're not aware of this, this is pretty handy. I get my students these days to do this for any site they're using regularly and keep a little folder of study-related apps on their home screen. Yep, as I mentioned, you can reset the progress if they're all green. Okay, so that is lingolab.co. Again, it's free. Anyone can use that for free. Do we have any questions before I move on to LingoLab Online? Feel free to just speak up if you do. I'll just check the chat in case there's any there. Okay, I'm going to move on to explaining LingoLab Online. Actually, maybe before I do that, I'll just show you on the actual app just a few different example sets. So I've just been showing you the PowerPoints from the, which you can also find on the help website. All of the different sites are explained on there, including many of these slides and links to the actual activities. I'll put a link to that in the chat at the end. Yeah, let's have a look at the real thing. Okay, so as you can see here, we can play it just on a normal computer, but this also, all of the questions are also formatted well to work even on a small device, smartphone. So here's an example of some English to English questions, because I know there are quite a lot of teachers who don't like using Japanese. So what is it? Quiz questions with relative clauses. Okay, this is the kind of person who teaches in a school. Okay, pretty easy. By the way, all these, you might notice all of these answers are in alphabetical order. So if you're kind of searching around for a particular answer, you can find it a little bit more quickly. This is a verb which means giving money in exchange for goods at a shop. Okay, so these kinds of questions, quite nice relative clause practice. And you can, to show you the different modes, so with just this one set, by changing these modes, we're changing the kind of activity. So let's have audio prompt. And you might have noticed all of those that reset there because it's a different mode.
It's an adjective which is used only to describe hair. It's the opposite of dark.
Okay. And if that is, you want to hear it again?
It's an adjective which is used only to describe hair. It's the opposite of dark.
Okay.
It's something which you write on Twitter.
Okay, and then if we want to make it more difficult, we can use this hidden letters mode here.
It's how you feel when you have to wait a long time.
No, it's how you feel when you have to wait a long time. Okay. So I think it could be bored. I think it might be impatient here. And yeah, if we don't know the answer, you will be shown, if you click the wrong tile, you make a mistake, it will show you the answer. Which makes it a little bit easy in the one letter answer modes, but in a full sentence, it just shows you just the next word. So that's a hint for you to sort of become unstuck and keep going. But yeah, of course, that item will be rated down. So you will have to answer that again, even if you have been helped with the answer that time. So with those three modes, one way that you can give good sort of thorough practice is that with a particular set of phrases, you might assign it as homework for to be done in the easiest mode first, and then set it again a week later in a more challenging mode with the hidden letters or something. And you can actually use the several different modes, so they could be doing in progressively harder modes to really get productive ability with it. Okay, so it's one type with just single word answers. Easy. Okay, this is more difficult, longer phrases. What is behind him? Okay. There is a basket of, let's see, there is a basket. Okay, so that kind of thing. And this one, we did see one example of this before, having a bit of text to help answer the questions, some different options there. You know, we could have this in the question mode. Oh, let's do this one. Most of it.
What job does she do? What job does she do?
What job does she do? Okay, we can see here she got the tour guide. Okay, so she is a tour guide. Okay, and something more, if you just want kind of vocab study, this is academic word list. You can just do this kind of thing. This is a more standard type of multiple choice thing. You could do this in other on other platforms like Quizlet or Google Forms or whatever. But if you want the review functions or the LingoLab progress monitoring functions, then you can also do these kinds of things in LingoLab.co. Also for with the hidden letters mode, it's kind of, you know, it's not as hard as them having to type it in because they could make spelling mistakes, but it is still requiring some kind of more productive ability. So it does have that advantage as a mode. Okay, how are we going for time? Let's see, I think there might be a question. Those words with the missing letters are too hard. Well, William, you're going to have to practice more. It depends. If they're very long words, then yeah, they might be tricky. But if you do the shown words first and have them do the hidden letters mode as a follow-up mode, then I think that would be fine. Also depend, yeah, these are the academic word lists, so they are pretty hard. Yeah. Being long words, you could offer the first syllable or last syllable, but yeah, okay, thanks for your idea. But, it's hard with modes because you really want them to be suitable for all kinds of vocabulary, and there will be often much simpler kinds of vocab as the target words. Okay, so let's move on to LingoLab Online. So on this site, you can monitor the students' LingoLab progress. You can make custom sets. You can create quizzes. Let's have a look at those functions. Okay, so as we saw before, I don't expect you to read all this text. This is on the help site to give you more information if you want it. So as I showed you before, here is the student's profile page on lingolab.co. This is how they connect to the LingoLab Online site. On LingoLab Online, this is the kind of view you can get. You can check their progress by set. So you can look up a particular set that's been studied, and if you do that, you'll see this kind of record. You'll see their names here, you'll see the class there, you'll see how many words in the set they've mastered. These students have been very good, mastered all their 225 in the set. You can see an error rate. So this shows you the average number of errors made per question. So the student, for example, has made one error every 2 questions roughly, or 6 mistakes out of 10 questions. So we can see this is probably pretty useful practice for this one. This person made very few errors. It's not that challenging for this student. So with this kind of feedback, you can see how difficult they are. We also get the mode information here. You just click there to go straight to the set too if you see it. We can sort the progress here. Good, see who's, you can see the last time they accessed it. We can also view the progress by student. So if we get the student view, we can see their general information here. So their running total. If you were setting this, if you just wanted to keep a general eye on who's doing their homework in the class, you can look at this view. And when you click on the actual student name, you can get the individual student details, all the sets that they've studied and progress with them, etc., and the modes. So yeah, it gives you quite a lot of information about how the student's been doing with the sets that you've assigned them. You could have them do it free choice if you wanted to, I guess. I haven't actually done that. I've always asked them to study particular things that were related to what we've studied in class. But yeah, if you wanted to do a free choice thing, you could sort of show them all the different types of sets and let them choose themselves and say they had to get X number of points or something. That would be possible. One thing you can't see in here, though, is I can't click on here and see which sentences the student actually made mistakes with. Okay, so this gives you a more general overview of the progress, but it does allow you to check that they actually did do the assigned work and completed those questions. If you want a detailed feedback about every question in a set studied, that is when you would use the quiz making function, which I'm going to show you pretty soon. But first, I'll just show you the managing sets function. So there's managing sets and creating sets. So on this tab here, we have a list of all the sets that you've made. You can make it, click this button to make another one. Comes up like this. So you can type in here or you can copy paste from a spreadsheet. So we can have with a question answer. You don't upload images to this site, but you can link to them using the image URL. So all Quizlet sets, for example, if you right click on a picture in a Quizlet set, you'll see an image URL. So you could put those in there like that. There is another way to add pictures, which is after making the set, you can sort of automatically look up pictures from Google Images, I think it is, and that picture is based on the word in the term field. So I think this one is for angry, I'm guessing. So if you have the term here and you click here, then all of these options will come in. You can just click on, yeah, there we go. Click on the one you want and it'll appear in there. So that's the easiest way to do it. If you think, if it's pretty common vocabulary, it's very likely that there's a good word, a good picture to be found in this, using this function. If you have very specific pictures you want to use, you'll have to use the image URL way of adding pictures. Okay, so this is the quiz creation function that I mentioned. So this is what it looks like to the user. Okay, after you've created a quiz, you'll send them, either show them a QR code or give them a link. And when they follow that, they will have an option to choose the class, put in their name, and then they answer their questions here. And you'll set the mode to whatever mode you want from your side. So you notice they don't have to have an account or anything. They just follow a link, and anyone with that link will be able to answer the quiz. So this is where we make the quizzes on the Manage Quizzes page. This is where you can see the number of submissions, preview the quiz, get a link, show a QR code. This is really handy for on the screen. So sometimes when I set quizzes through Zoom, I would just show the QR code and ask them to leave their cameras on Zoom so I can monitor them, and they would do the quiz on their phone. So if you create a quiz, let's see, if you create a quiz, this is what it looks like. Make a title, just put in some labels for the different classes for them to choose from a drop-down list. Choose a set. There are lots of default sets in there already, but again, you can import your own custom set. Choose the items you want in the test. This can be as many as you want. Choose the kind of mode, just like I showed you before. All those modes are available in here. You can shuffle the question order, or you can choose how many points per question. And as it says here, it's a -1 point per error. So if you have long sentences and you think it's reasonable for them to maybe make a mistake or two, you might want to make it, 5 points per question. If it is a simple one-word answer, you might want to just have 1 point per question. So thinking about whatever kinds of questions you're making. Set your points accordingly. Okay, and this is what it looks like when you're seeing the student submissions. You can see the question information, and when you mouse over here, you'll actually see the question contents. One nice additional bit of data you get with this format too is the time taken. So there's a timer that starts when they are using the test. And as soon as they've submitted their, you'll be able to see the submission in the list. So if you keep an eye on this page and you just refresh the page occasionally, you'll be able to see their submissions coming in one at a time. I'm actually making some updates to the site so that you can see the submissions per question as they answer the questions. So that will be a nice feature when that's implemented. Should be quite soon. In that way, you'll be able to actually see the progress of students through the quiz as they're doing it. Okay. Surely there are some questions. Feel free to pipe up in English or Japanese if you have any questions. Okay. Well, I hope if I do a little demo shortly, we will have some participants for trying that.
Oliver, maybe you want to leave your email address if people have questions and they want to contact you by email directly.
Sure.
That'll be in the chat box, so you can see that at any time.
Yeah, I'll just put it in there right now. I'll mention it. And I'll also put in the, because the chat gets deleted as soon as you kind of stop the session. So I've sort of had that problem before where I've forgotten to get data from the chat box and then haven't been able to get it again. So I'll put those in there now if you do want to keep these links.
Oh, thank you very much for a great session. Well, you can't hear the people applauding you in the background. So if there's no questions, what I can do is the next session isn't until 12:30. So what I'll do is I'll turn off the screen recording. I'll do that now. And then what you can do if anybody wants to hang around for maybe 10, 15 minutes and have any questions, you can do that without being embarrassed that your question is going to be recorded and all that. So
that's a good idea. Thanks, Peter. Great.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
if anyone wants to actually try out something like the LingoLab Live, I was planning on doing a little demo of that, run out of time, but if you would like to try that, we can do that. If you want to try setting it up as a teacher on your side, and we can also try that if you can.
Okay, fantastic. I'll leave you guys here and you can, yeah, take a look at that or just gab or whatever. There is some other rooms that for socializing, but yeah, enjoy. Thank you very much for a great session.
Great. Thanks, Peter.